Hello and welcome back to the Snelling Forging the Future podcast. I'm Bennett Richardson, your host. Today I'm sitting down with Chris Wheeler, VP of Operations at Fanimation Ceiling Fans. Chris has been with Fanimation for 2 years, and before that, he worked across manufacturing, supply chain, and automation. We're going to talk about what it takes to modernize operations and balance automation with team culture. Chris, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Bennett. Pleasure having you. Appreciate it.
Well, Chris, could you start by walking us through your journey from the Army to auto glass manufacturing to where you are now?
Yeah, I'm a Midwest kid, so I grew up in Southern Indiana. I'm based back in Indiana, so I kind of did the whole full circle of any and everywhere to made it back home somehow with a
Mm,
very long journey. So I came right out of college, went to the military, really appreciated my time in service there, got a chance to
mm,
work with amazing professionals all over the world, and spent several years in the service. As I came out of the service, I really was just directionally wanting to understand where I fit in a good organization that had a key focus in on growth. And I always wanted to be forward thinking and in processes and just be with a company that really had innovation in the forefront of their mind while also complement it with people and just really empowering folks to be great. And so I joined Fuyao Auto Glass Manufacturer, which is a Chinese manufacturer that bought the rights and operations to Pittsburgh Plate and Glass, which a lot of people know from their paint divisions. PPG, which is based out of Pittsburgh. I worked out of their float line, which is about a 2 million square foot facility right out of the military, where they take raw good materials and they turn it into auto glass manufacturing, which is just a really cool concept, very intricate, wonderful people that work there. And they were rebuilding a 70-year-old factory with new innovation, robotics, just really bringing a lot of the processes from overseas teams into American manufacturing. So it was really great to work with them and see just the rebuild of what already was a great facility.
mhm.
And then from there, I spent the next 2 years really working through project support we also procured a facility, an old GM facility in Dayton, Ohio, where there's actually a Netflix documentary about this, that they refurbished that entire 10 million square foot facility for 40 different manufacturing lines. So I was just on the groundbreaking there, and then I got recruited away. So it was
Sure.
one of those things where I was like, man, I really loved it. It was a lot of fun. But then, the next opportunity called. And so I was recruited by a company called Dry Supply Chain DSC at that time. And then they were in an acquisition which is now CJ Logistics of America. And they were a South Korean company that had partnered with DSC and essentially saw the value to do an integration together and really opened my eyes to supply chain for third-party logistics and looked at not just the logistics side of the business, but then also I was able to see a lot of focus with CPG goods, from food manufacturing to any type of consumer goods, like
Sure.
Georgia Pacific and whatnot. So from there, I spent several years going through different sites, looking at automation, from robotics of unloading container shipments. We're still doing that to this day, looking at those technologies, to ERP systems. So the systems that drive from point to point for the teams in the warehouse to manufacturing, to also looking at track and traceability from containers to over the road shipments across the US and beyond. I was able to be over different accounts throughout the way in different states, from Florida to West Coast. It was kind of just getting a chance to really see different programs, different customer needs. Everybody had different needs. So some of them wanted speed to guest, some of them were quality, some of them were just a fact of we need to update our systems, and how do we do that and find infrastructure to make our people success or allow our people to be successful. And then from there, I had a couple great years that was just wonderful with different operations. And then I was recruited by Ulta Beauty, who has a wonderful track record. They're very forward thinking. They do their own supply chain. I was very blessed to be a part of their group as director of DC operations, and they were putting in a multitude of different automated systems where they would have auto sortation was a big focus for them. They were looking at taking out some of the manual processes to complement their headcount in their facilities, to look at more value added tasks like packing parcel shipments that they see, doing 20 to 30,000 orders a day or more, big volume movement. And I was able to be a part of their first of 6 locations that they were going to be doing a new integration of an entire platform change. That's been very successful. They've done a great job from, like I said, auto sortation to rediverts to, pick, pack, and ship speed. Speed and quality was really critical for any of them. And they excelled at that with a wealth of talent and resources. And I couldn't be happier with being able to work for that team. And just any technology that was out there, it was on the discussion with all of the companies I've been for. And that's been wonderful, as well as, ideas turned into realities. And I was really blessed to work with folks that looked in those areas and said, like, we've got a problem. Is there a solution that will help our teams be successful? And I think that
Sure.
was really great. And then I had, to where I am today, I had been approached and sought after from a 40-year family-owned ceiling fan manufacturer, not far from where I live, actually, in Indiana. We're about a 15-minute drive, so I'm pretty blessed about that too.
That's great.
And it was a very different industry for us. So for me, especially from going from big box retailers to a very intricate, unique sales to portfolio strategy of the lighting and ceiling fan industry, but learning from the best in the business. So one of our founder is case in point. He started this company 42 years ago out of his garage in Southern California. His son is now my boss, the CEO and president, and I don't have enough time in the day to figure out all the questions I want to ask about the past, where we become, to where we are today, which is wonderful. So I head up all of the operations on the day-to-day operations, from customer care support, tech support, to our supply chain team that does everything in-house with third-party support partners as well, like 3PLs in our portfolio for operations as well.
So Chris, it sounds like throughout all of the companies that you've worked with, there's been a emphasis on adopting new technology and being pretty open to that. Is that something you've looked for out of all of the companies you've joined?
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of complements culture to forward-thinking openness to technology. So, from, paperless operations, I'm a big paperless guy. So it's like, I like digital a lot. So if there is a lot of manufacturers and logistics partners and operations out there where I guarantee somebody's sitting there going, man, why do we keep filling this form out? Or it should be in a system. It should be able to automatically populate. And I was always really intrigued about problem solving and removing challenges through technology that complemented teams to be able to improve their culture, obviously, or enhance their culture. But on top of that, put them into more value-added tasks that allow them to be in a place where they feel like they're contributing at a higher level. So, maybe it's order entry, or maybe it's different aspects that they're like, man, we should be able to automate this, but I really would love to get in this facet of our business to, maybe it's more manual processes like, container unloads or any things like that, where it's really physical, the constraints are challenging, the speed, the timing, those things, really just getting on the ground and listening to what the perspectives were, and the company supporting goals and initiatives that would allow us to explore those areas. And I think that's what really drove me to different companies, was really how they support their culture, how do they grow their teams, but how do they take away some of the blockers, I would call them, of different things in their day-to-day business that their teams are telling them they need help with. And I think that really resonated well with me and all these different companies I've been a part of.
Definitely. I guess that's the main point of automation, is to make it really work for the individual and make sure that it's, like you said, freeing up time for the more important tasks that a person could be focusing on. It must have been interesting joining this, like you said, 40-year family-owned business that started in a garage. I imagine that the company was already pretty pro-innovation, but it sounds like you came in with a lot of new ideas. Was that an exciting time? Did that kind of draw you into the company, the ability to help them move forward?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it's an it's an interesting dynamic. So I had replaced a wonderful vice president of operation that was actually the brother of the founder. So he had knew everything from the product to where we came from to how we grew together. And so I had a couple months to be able to work with him to understand really the history of what we've tried in the past. And I think that was really critical for me, is to be able to sit with someone and say, I've always wanted to do this, or I've heard that we could do this, or we need to do this. And about that time, we also made some additional movement in our executive team to help from a financial perspective. We promoted one of our directors to vice president of finance, and he was helping a lot of the integrations when it came to the system side. So we had about 5 different systems when I first walked in this building that weren't talking to each other or probably streamlining the operations nearly as much that we needed it to. So we had one system for your warehouse, you had another for order entry, you had another for where we housed some of our data sources that was conflicting with maybe it's pricing, maybe it's something to do with our replenishments for our product. And so we knew like, hey, we needed to really work with a partner to innovate. And that was the first step, as if you don't have the system that'll support the growth and the simplicity of the ability to open up more of that toolbox of things that you can do in your organization that is just being held up by maybe it's limitations, and maybe you've capped out on what that program was designed for at one time.
Right.
When we rolled that out, which is called Acumatica, which is a wonderful platform. If anybody's considering using that, please, I will be a poster child of saying, hey, this thing is the real deal.
You heard it
But
here first.
yeah, you heard it here first. I'm sure a lot have already said that. At least, they're well known and they're doing a very good job, and they've been great partners. And so we took those 5 systems down to 1, and we started to see, okay, now that the system is working with us, now that we can really get the basics of what information is flowing the proper way. Now let's look at where are our constraints at. It's our pack stations, it's manual printing of pack slips, it's auto notifications of shipping status to our customers who, somebody would manually have to email somebody and say, hey, it's on the road. As opposed to when we put it on the truck and we close the shipment, someone's now going to get an automatic email that says, hey, here's your track information and here's on the road. Those things for big corporations that I've been a part of, those have been in place. But for a small family owned company that may have not had that ability at that time, it was really great to take a lot of that knowledge and say, hey guys, we should be doing this because we need to be focusing in on those other things that really put us into another level for our industry.
It must have been so exciting for you and for the team that you were joining, them to see these immediate, like you said, value adds. That's terrific. Well, I understand you've been through like 20 to 25 ERP systems throughout your impressive career. What's the biggest lesson you've learned about picking the right one?
I would say be willing to have all of your questions answered. And if you don't get the question answered for the application you're looking for, then you really need to take a solid look at what is it going to be a customization that that platform can help you get to, or is it something that the core dynamics of that ERP system is not built for? I've worked on systems that customers have built themselves and in-house, but the problem was it wasn't supported over the years because, some of the folks that designed it had moved on or retired, or, there's just a change that wasn't necessarily supported. With our existing system, one of the things I was really impressed with, they require you to do an upgrade every year to stay at least one new release away from the existing most updated release out there. So you go into testing phases, you see what the applications are, you see how they help what you're looking for to enhance. And then you spend months testing it as you're working in the normal system as it is today. So you get a sneak peek and saying, hey guys, in the next release, which we have our next release in November, this is what we're going to be able to do now.
Wow.
To customizations. So I think the vetting process is something that you need to bring all departments in. So everyone is affected by this. It's not just sales. It's not just inventory. It's not just supply chain. It's not just customer care. It is across the board, and you really got to be purposeful on the actions of what you're looking for. Now, There is no magic platform out there that gives you absolutely every single thing for the nuance of your business, but the right partners will work with you to say, this is how you can maximize the capabilities to allow us to customize some of the really focused, intricate details of maybe something that's industry specific, like our fans or our data that we need to have supported as well. So I would
Definitely.
just say it's a very long process, but
Sure.
it's a very necessary process to make sure you go through every channel to help your team be successful and them also know what they're getting.
Yeah. That must be really nice to be able to work in those environments and get kind of a sneak peek at what's coming. Not only what the new system will be capable of or in the next iteration, but I bet it's nice just to get an idea for like any interface changes because I know when we've had changes to our main system and like suddenly you come in on Monday and everything has been switched around, that can be really frustrating. So that sounds like a really great way to do it for multiple reasons. I'd love to touch on something you mentioned there. You had talked about some people retiring and maybe taking some information with them. You've got some team members who've been at Fanimation for 20 plus years. How do you balance that institutional knowledge with when you're bringing in new talent?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love to hire. So it's one of those
Mhm.
things, or
Me
I
too.
love to internally promote. Obviously, it's one of the great blessings of being a leader is seeing others be successful. Like
Yeah.
that's ultimately what a leader should be focusing in on. And I've been very blessed to have over 6 different department level adjustments in my career in the 2 years here where we've internally moved up folks either into a new role or into an elevated role in their existing infrastructure of the organization. And it's a testament to my company's culture and certainly a lot of companies' cultures, right? We were named best places to work Indiana last year,
Right.
which is wonderful, wonderful compliment to our company. But also I think the key is being purposeful on transitioning the knowledge between existing leaders. I'll give you a perfect example. We had a director of customer care who oversees all of our customer service and tech support, just recently retired in a couple months, uh, 2 months ago now. And she had spent months working with her soon to be replacement and talked for, going through what he would change to what she had learned over a 30-year, a wonderful career. But we were also really purposeful that we designated time for, building our bench, which is really critical is, it's
Mhm.
a next person up kind of thing. While also we complement outside hires that allow us to grow in capacities we don't have the expertise in.
Yeah.
And I think that's challenging for some companies where we're like, surely we've got that internal talent. There might be internal talent there, but they may not be ready for that, or we may not have the resources to get them there. And so we bring in other talent that, teams that complement our team and our culture that are good in that specific area, and then they grow with us. So it's been really nice because yes, we do have a lot of tenure in our company and we have a really, really highly recognized high quality brand that our teams are really bought into to represent the brand exceptionally well. But we also expect that from our new team members that join us. And they really resonate with the tenured teams to know this is what we expect. This is how we elevate one another. We complement, we have great teamwork, and certainly we grow together. And I think that's been really a blessing is being very purposeful about your successioning but also very purposeful about how you pass on knowledge. And I've been blessed in my career, not just with animation, but I've had mentors throughout every one of my companies that have given me time and to really develop and help me grow in that capacity as well.
Yeah. It sounds like people come into your facilities and really can see the culture right off the bat. And you've given some great reasons as to why it's good to stay light on your feet and ready to hire when, the situation arises. Speaking of hiring, yeah, it seems as though AI and automation is really changing, or it could be changing what skills matter in operations. What are you looking for now that might not have been on your radar 5 years ago, if anything?
I hear a lot of there in our industry, and when we start talking about AI and just over the last 10 years, is there's a lot of uncertainty and I would say caution in AI. And I also appreciate that there should be a cautionary side. You want to make sure that the data is validated. You want to make sure that the processes are giving the best experience and represents your brand exceptionally well. That's very important to me. Data integrity, to the execution of the process by what automation we're putting in place. Good companies focus in on how does it complement with your workforce, and are you setting up the change of the employees' skills to be able to be complemented by that resource. So for example, right now in customer care for our teams, we're focusing heavily on tech support knowledge for our the intricacies of troubleshooting for our folks that call us in. They got problems with the product, or they're just trying to get an installation question answered. You have to have product knowledge. You have to really focus in on troubleshooting. You have to have people skills, right? I mean, that's important. It may be stressful or it may just be a wonderful experience. Whatever it may be, you have to be able to have a technical background a little bit there,
Mhm.
because you are the resource, as opposed to what we're seeing from a data entry side that's been sped up. So it's more of order entry, order management that's complemented by less errors, less manual entry, and turns into a lot more opportunities for us to cross train into multiple functionalities. EDI is a big one for us on our online space. Orders automatically come through our online channels. We quality control those, but the flow of that data comes through so much faster now. It allows our teams to kind of repurpose a little bit into some sectors like quality control, like EDIs, like tech support, that allow us to give them new skill sets that is complemented but not taken by AI capabilities. And I think that's been really, really beneficial for us. On the supply chain side, you're looking at how the information flows to the individual processing for pickers, to pack stations, to the put away drivers that are putting our fans away from the container this morning. All that data cannot be interrupted. It cannot be, delayed. Signals are critical. Information must be right. Product information must be correct. That, and not having to adjust quantities, do those extra steps, allows us to focus more on the next more value added focus, tasking may say as well. So that's been really nice for us to be able to complement our current processes, but also redirect our teams into learning some new skills that they may not have had before, or maybe may not be as exposed as they were in their previous applications.
Gotcha. Well, Christopher, these have been great answers so far. I really appreciate your time. One question I wanted to ask that you've kind of touched on with other answers, but specifically, how do you think about the cultural impact when introducing new technology?
Yeah, I think it's really important to be as transparent in where you're targeting and focusing your efforts in from an organization from top down. Bigger, bigger organizations, there's a lot more levels that may have to really focus in on the same messages being sent through all levels. And how are you creative about giving updates and how often you're giving updates? I've had organizations that really did great on keeping us in the loop on what the organization is focused in on our investments, from infrastructure changes in our investments for technology to opportunities where some of the accounts may have not known as much about what our structure was, or what we were doing as a corporation focusing. So that was really important to me when I came to Fanimation. Was we wanted to be transparent with our teams to understand this is what we're looking into. This
Mhm.
is why we're looking into it. This is how it could impact you. But hey, guys, we're on a journey together. We want you to focus in on what tools we're going to be giving you to utilize this new function, or maybe it's this new application and capability. And then really the big key part that we've been very successful in is also, after it's implemented, asking what you thought it was versus what it is now, and what would
Mm.
you like to see it be? And then really working through the misconceptions. That happens a lot is, hey, we had this new idea. Maybe it didn't land as what we thought it was going to be, but it's complemented a ton more different things that we never even thought, and let's get some feedback from the teams. And I think that was really important. We also took action lists and said, hey, we thought we got this. We all these, we want to know, can we get these? And you want the world, obviously, you want everything to be as clean and streamlined as possible. And you should always be working towards asking more and more feedback. And then also, when you don't action something, I think great companies say, hey, not, we're not going to do that. And here's why we're not doing it. And this is maybe it's an investment, maybe it's an infrastructure or just a challenge that the size of the company can't do right now, or it's a later date thing. And so it's just based on application. People want to be a part of a solution. And I think that is where, if you bring them along and you challenge and you say, hey, we're in this together, and how that complements what they do on the day to day by all different functionality, I think that really resonates well because they are part of it instead of being told what it's going to be or what it's doing. And I think that really helps a ton.
That is tremendous advice for any managers out there implementing new technology. And I think that is a common theme amongst how to make a great organization in general. It's just bringing in all members of the staff, like you said earlier, that are affected by these new changes at any given point, making them part of the conversation. Asking, love what you said about asking what they expected a new technology was going to do, and if it's different than what it's actually become. That's fantastic. Well, we're nearing the end here, Christopher. One question I wanted to ask to give you an opportunity to highlight it is what's happening at Fanimation right now that you're really excited about?
We don't have enough time in the podcast to go through that, but the product assortment is just so wonderful. Like, we have new product that's finally landing from a lot of disruptions last year from overseas tariffs and,
Sure.
geopolitical challenges. But our brand is extremely strong. People resonate really well with our story. And they know we excel in our operational landscape. So if today we're shipping on same day orders where there's no delay. We fill back orders within, less than 12 hours. We really focus in on giving everyone a wonderful quality experience. But more importantly, like, we are also very forward thinking, even as a mid-level size company, and we have aspirations to certainly go well into a different scope completely as far as our size is concerned. And then, we really have the core focus of our people really drive the experience to our guests. So a lot of cross training, a lot of new technology is being explored in our four walls here. And then we're really branching out and reaching out to our customers to get more and more feedback on product assortment, to the experience they're looking for. And, just being able to get in front of customers that really want to know our brand more, that
Mm.
respect us very well as an industry leader, but more importantly, they want to continue to grow with us. And I think it's been just a, exciting time for us, from a operation standpoint, in the lighting and ceiling fan industry. It's been a very challenging 2 years. We came out of COVID, and obviously, that dynamics in the housing market, but now we're seeing, consumer confidence in our brand and brands like us. We never wavered. So a lot of us was our quality never differed. Our availability never changed. Sure, there's moments of blimps of impacts by any company in availability of product or, what may have you, just on just transit and what have you. But we've been really, really pleased we have a great core in our teams. We empower our teams exceptionally well. We give them the tools to be very successful. We're flexible, open-minded, and we don't take anything off the table. I think that's the key that we kind of been talking about in this podcast a lot is, if there's an idea, I'm not going to put every one of them in place because it may not make sense in some applications, but we're going to tell you, like, hey, here's why we're not going to, or this is, man, we're taking this and we're running with it. And we have a phenomenal group of high performing team members that have so many ideas that there's not enough time in the year to try and get all those ideas on paper and certainly get in action. So we're trying to meter it as much as we can, but they're doing a great job, and we're poised to have an exceptional rest of this year. And 2027 is going to be a very big year for us.
I am super excited for y'all. It sounds like things are really looking very optimistic. And I love your synopsis there about one of the main themes of our call today being, bringing people into the conversation, making every team member feel like they can contribute ideas and to the discussion of how an organization is going to improve. As somebody who, has conversations about multiple companies every single day, those are the companies that definitely get people excited to join up. So that's terrific. One more question, Chris. What's the best way for people to connect with you or learn more about Fanimation?
Yeah, I mean, you just go to our website, fanimation.com. You can see on our contact list, you can see our assortment of products. You're going to be wowed by our products. They are wonderful, beautiful, designer, really focused, high end. They're wonderful for any application that anybody wants. And then, we're here 5 days a week. We have great customer service. If you have a general question where you're just like, I would just like to know what to do with a fan. Like, we love talking about our product. We love talking about fans in general. We're industry leaders, and we certainly will get you the right resources to be able to make your experience wonderful. And really just that's our focus is we want our customers to have resounding results by the interactions they get, and certainly also purchasing a wonderful product that can be in anyone's home or any application. So we're really excited, and yeah, so I would say that would be your best bet. And certainly, we respond really quick, and we love to get to know new people all the time, and we love to diversify and understand new customers and new contacts, and that's the one of our big points to our culture as well, as we love to get to know everybody.
Well, if the rest of the organization is anything like you, Chris, I'm sure it's a terrific, knowledgeable group of individuals, and I hope people will check you out. I really appreciate you joining the call today. I'm excited to get this information out to people. And otherwise, for now, I can bring this call to a close.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you.
All right.